The Looe Valley line begins at Liskeard and ends with a GWR unit rolling into Looe, as if it's doing you a personal favor. A quiet branch, a steep drop, and a river that widens with every mile. It's the sort of line that reminds you why arriving by rail matters, especially in a town where parking is a competitive sport and Great Western's adverts insist you'll feel like one of the famous five. We didn't feel particularly famous, and certainly not like Timmy, although the excitement was there for sure. Looe itself is a contradiction. A working harbour wrapped in a tourist cardigan. Fishing boats, tide marks, gulls, and, for reasons known only to the gods of retail, a mountain warehouse on the high street. And yet, tucked among the pasties and postcards, the town now boasts a Michelin bib gourmand at the sardine factory. Not for us, of course. We're scruffy chaps. We took our scallops and anchovies at the pub for lunch, and fish and chips at the same pub for supper. Breakfast down the street in a recommended cafe. Perfectly good, perfectly honest, and perfectly Cornish, albeit with remembered stiff competition from the Norfolk coast. Tea at 05:15. Because that's when the light arrived and the harbour started working. Morning shots out of the window, the river still half asleep, the boats nudging the tide, the first movements of a working day. Later, a walk along the river to watch the fisherfolk depart, diesel, ropes, shouts, and the slow choreography of boats slipping out to sea. We arrived too early for the raft race, and left too soon to see it. That's travel for you. You catch what you catch, and the rest becomes a note in the margin. The Western Approaches, a senior service attachment stretching from Plymouth across to Ireland and up to Liverpool. A branch line, a harbour, a town that works for a living. A place where the tide decides the timetable, not the railway. And a reminder that sometimes the best journeys are the ones where nothing dramatic happens, just light, water, and the quiet business of people getting on with their day. Historically, like Wivenhoe in Essex, they built fast gunboats here during the Second World War. Somewhere beneath the surface of things lies the history of shipbuilding at the Frank Curtis Yard. They built the hulls north of the bridge and floated them under the arches to complete the superstructure to the south, including, apparently, some of the famous Fairmile 110-foot dog boats. We came to observe, and we did. A town which deserves far more recognition than it gets. So within 24 hours, we returned up the line to Liskeard to catch the Exeter train, the Cornish Riviera, then the Torbay Riviera, to Paddington, and Greater Anglia back to the flatlands of the east. Somewhat wiser and somewhat impressed with the peninsula. A week later, in Heatwave Norwich, reviewing the recent expedition to the Western Approaches, the question that always concludes such ventures is a simple one: would we return? It is, in its own quiet way, the true measure of any operation. Looe, affirmative. Without hesitation. A working harbour of honest purpose, nets drying, boats moving, people getting on with the day. No pretense. No theatre. A place where a photographer, with a notebook, can stand without feeling they are in the way. St. Ives, a conditional return. The Atlantic light remains exemplary, the sort that flatters even indifferent glass, but the summer crowds render manoeuvre difficult. Best approached in the off-season, when the wind has room to operate and the streets regain their sense of proportion. The night Riviera, a success. The operation was conducted with excessive caution on the approach. Arrive in plenty of time became arrive far too early. Next time, departure from Norwich may be delayed by 2 hours without compromising readiness. The train itself remains a reliable ally. Equipment. The camera performed admirably. The 35mm glass continues to justify its weight in the pack. Audio, however, proved pedestrian. Since returning to base, the feed has been upgraded. Future recordings should exhibit improved clarity and reduction of both wind and background interference. Conclusion: a modest expedition, slightly over budget, but a worthwhile one. Light, water, railways, and the quiet business of people working at the edge of the map. No drama required, only observation.